Hold on to your butts, folks. Tekken Cross Street Fighter might still actually be a thing. Being announced in 2010, Tekken Cross Street Fighter was the sister game that was going to be soon released after the original version of Capcom's Street Fighter Cross Tekken, merging the two franchises together as well as splitting them up, offering two different gameplay styles, a Capcom gameplay style made by Capcom, and a 3D fighting style game made by Namco and all of their expertise. And although it was announced 4 years ago and we've seen very little outside of just a few screenshots and a couple of different character models, there's been so little information that we really thought this game was cancelled. And I wouldn't really blame Namco for that either. Street Fighter Cross Tekken was kind of a Capcom disaster amidst the DLC thing and really causing bad PR for the company. It was something that I'd imagine Capcom would like to completely forget, although I really like the system of Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and I've mentioned this many times before, that I enjoy it even more than Street Fighter 4. Albeit, that doesn't really matter because the game kind of bombed, and it was a huge disaster, essentially for fighting games in Capcom. And Street Fighter Cross Tekken was the last real, actual fighting game release that wasn't an HD remix or a port-up of a classic game that Capcom's produced. Now, the issue would be is that once Namco sees all this response to these two franchises merging together on Capcom's side, it was presumed that they steered clear of the fire and were like, alright, well, we're not touching this anymore. See you dudes later at Capcom, and it was fun while it lasted. You know, enjoy our characters. But this actually seems to not be the case. Recently announced by Namco on some sites regarding future developments of games, there was the usual that most were expecting for the future developments of Namco as a video game company, and then one that no one saw coming at all because we all thought it was cancelled, and lo and behold, it's Tekken Cross Street Fighter, and they are planning to do something with it in 2014. Holy hell. No, I want to talk about this too because I think Tekken as a franchise, it's kind of grown very stale in the public eye. I don't mean the games themselves have grown stale. The games themselves offer some of the deepest, most competitive fighting game combat that's available on the market right now. The problem is that Tekken as a franchise has kind of gone downhill ever since Tekken 5, or at least after Tekken 5. It's kind of got an image issue as its roster got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the overall appeal that Tekken has had as far as being a PlayStation brand or just a brand in general kind of died down over the past few years. So it's kind of sad, all things considered. Tekken Tag 2 is quite literally the greatest Tekken fighting game ever made because it's a full game. It's a full list, a full roster, full featured, great online, everything you'd want in a fighting game, and it performed pretty much the worst of any Tekken game ever. They even had to make Tekken Revolution a free-to-play game that was loosely based off the Tekken Tag Tournament 2 engine, but it was just a testament that Namco is desperately looking for something to do with the Tekken franchise. They want it to be successful. So, all things considered, I think that combining these two franchises in a 3D world and being developed by Namco is probably one of the best things that you can do to Tekken right now. Sometimes with the Street Fighter franchise back in the day, what Capcom would do is merge them with other ones, with SNK, with Marvel, and things like that. Albeit Tatsunoko vs. Capcom was one of the first released last generation Capcom fighting games, and it went over pretty well in Japan and eventually got released in the US and is a pretty decent fighting game. And this is a critical thing and something that Namco definitely is paying attention to. You really can't ignore the fact that the previous generation of Tekken titles really did take a dip, especially previously with Tekken 5, Tekken 4, and the illustrious and most popular Tekken game ever, Tekken 3. If we saw something this year at E3 from Namco, going over new graphics, crazy new gameplay mechanics, Street Fighter characters fighting alongside Tekken characters, and an art style that's drastically different than Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Namco could have something really big on their hands. Changing the gameplay styles is going to be interesting. Throwing fireballs into the mix, you really can't have Shotos or even Street Fighter associated characters without fireballs, and it's cool to see that Tekken and Tekken Revolution was actually testing a ground fireball character, most likely for system mechanics in Tekken Cross Street Fighter. All in all, I think this is very good news, because I like the Tekken franchise. I really enjoy it, it's just that I've had a personal gripe of mine with Tekken 6 system engine, as well as Tekken Tag Tournament 2 engine stuff, ever since they came out, and it just really bugged me. Also, Tekken 6 not having good online left a really bad taste in my mouth of that Namco was very disjointed with its community as far as what people need with online fighting games, and they did alleviate that with Tekken Tag Tournament 2 and Soulcalibur V. The problem is, the engine stuff is still there and it still kinda gripes me and I just don't find it very fun. That's a huge personal thing, but all things considered with the sales of the games, there's something going on. Namco is definitely gonna have to do something to the Tekken franchise, and potentially throwing Street Fighter into the mix is gonna be a very good thing. Albeit, I think a lot of the Namco development staff is still currently working on the latest Smash Bros. Game, so it's going to be an interesting mix of what devs are going to be taking over Tekken, especially if we're going to see something this year. All in all, and what we can take from this is that it's looking to be a pretty friggin' amazing year for Namco fighting games once again. We haven't heard anything on the Soulcalibur front besides that ridiculous single-player online, free-to-play game that very little people actually give a crap about because it's literally just Soulcalibur V rehashed just for single player. But it could be a great year for Namco, and I'm really looking forward to what E3 brings, especially Tokyo Game Show, which is most likely where they'll be showing off some of the bigger stuff regarding these titles. I'm almost gonna say that we have a pretty good chance of seeing at least a teaser for Tekken Cross Street Fighter, or at least an announcement of some kind, coming up within the next few months. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I absolutely thought this game was dead, trashed, and toast. But I am really happy to hear that it could be a real thing, and hopefully you guys are too. But like I said, your comments and feedback are important on this one, because this is a game that is kind of crazy that it even exists. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of Tekken Cross Street Fighter still being a thing, and what do you think it's going to be like when it comes out. My name is Maximilian, thank you dudes very much for watching, and I will see you next time.